Welcome to this video. Have you ever heard of a single angel defeating an army of 185,000 soldiers in one night? We'll uncover the mind-blowing biblical event that shook the ancient world and left everyone speechless. This is a story that defies human reasoning and showcases the sheer power of divine intervention. In this video, we'll dive into the historical and spiritual significance of this event, revealing how God's supernatural power was displayed in a way that transformed the course of history. You'll learn how this story is more than just a miraculous victory. It's a profound example of faith, trust in God's protection, and the unseen forces that shape our world. This incredible event continues to inspire believers today, reminding us that no challenge is too great for God. Are you ready to explore a story that challenges your understanding of what's possible? How can the miraculous defeat of such a vast army deepen your faith in God's ability to intervene in your life? Stay with us as we uncover the mysteries and meaning behind this extraordinary biblical event that still resonates today. Let's begin this incredible journey together. The event we are discussing took place during the reign of King Hezekiah, who ruled the kingdom of Judah. Hezekiah was a faithful king, known for his devotion to God and his efforts to rid the kingdom of idolatry. He led Judah at a time when the nation faced significant threats from surrounding empires, particularly the powerful Assyrian Empire. Despite being a small kingdom, Judah's strength lay in its faith in God, and Hezekiah did his best to lead the people according to God's commands. At this time, the Assyrian Empire was one of the most powerful and feared in the ancient world. Under the leadership of King Sennacherib, the Assyrians had already conquered many nations and cities, spreading fear across the region. Sennacherib had set his sights on Jerusalem, the capital of Judah, with the intention of capturing it and extending his empire even further. He had already destroyed many fortified cities in Judah, and now his army surrounded Jerusalem, ready to lay siege. The people of Jerusalem were terrified. The Assyrian army was massive, well-equipped, and had a reputation for brutality. As the Assyrians camped outside the city walls, the people inside were filled with fear and despair. They had seen what had happened to other cities that had fallen to the Assyrians, and they knew that if Jerusalem was captured, it would mean devastation for them and their families. It seemed like there was no hope for escape. Hezekiah, however, responded with faith. He went to the temple to pray and sought guidance from the prophet Isaiah, who was a trusted voice of God during this time. Even though the situation looked bleak, Hezekiah believed that God could deliver Judah from this impossible threat. While Sennacherib and his army were confident in their military strength, Hezekiah placed his trust in the power of God, the protector of Jerusalem. Sennacherib, confident in his victory, sent messages to Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem, mocking their faith in God. He boasted of the many nations he had already defeated and warned them that no God could save them from the Assyrians. This only added to the fear and pressure on Hezekiah and his people, but Hezekiah refused to surrender or give in to fear. He continued to seek God's help, praying for deliverance from the overwhelming enemy. This was the tense backdrop to one of the most miraculous events in the Bible. With Jerusalem surrounded and its people facing certain destruction, God's intervention would come in a way that no one could have predicted, forever changing the course of history and demonstrating the incredible power of faith. When King Hezekiah saw the overwhelming threat from the Assyrian army, he knew he couldn't rely on military strength alone. In the face of what seemed like certain destruction, Hezekiah turned to the one source of power he knew could save them: God. Hezekiah went to the temple, spread out the letters of threats from King Sennacherib before God, and prayed with all his heart. He asked God to intervene, to protect his people, and to show that he alone is the true God, above all others. It was a moment of deep faith and humility as Hezekiah laid the fate of the nation in God's hands. In response to Hezekiah's prayer, the prophet Isaiah came with a message from God. Isaiah, a trusted prophet during Hezekiah's reign, brought words of comfort and assurance. He told Hezekiah that God had heard his prayer and that Jerusalem would not fall to the Assyrians. Isaiah's prophecy was clear: Sennacherib would not enter the city, nor would he shoot a single arrow within its walls. Instead, God would defend the city and save it, for the sake of his own name and for the sake of his servant David. This promise must have been a great relief to Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem. Isaiah's prophecy showed that God was fully aware of the Assyrian threat and had already decided to act. Despite the overwhelming odds, God's message through Isaiah reassured Hezekiah that the situation was under divine control. While Sennacherib boasted of his power and victories, God reminded everyone that he was the one true ruler of all nations. No earthly army, no matter how large or powerful, could stand against God's will. This was a moment where faith in God's promises was key to the survival of Jerusalem. God's response wasn't just about delivering the city from physical destruction. It was about showing his people that he was with them, even in the darkest times. He wanted the people to know that their trust in him was not misplaced, and that he would fight on their behalf. The power of this promise was not just in the words Isaiah delivered, but in the confidence that came with knowing that God had not abandoned his people. It was a reminder that faith and prayer have the power to move even the greatest of obstacles. God's intervention was guaranteed, and he made it clear that he would act in his own way and in his own time. The people of Jerusalem had done everything they could. They had prepared for a siege, prayed, and placed their hope in God. Now it was time for them to trust in God's promise, even when the enemy army was still camped outside their walls. This moment called for complete reliance on God's power, rather than human strategies or strength. In the end, God's promise through Isaiah wasn't just about winning a military victory. It was about reminding the people of Judah that their true security and strength came from God. No matter how great the threat seemed, God's power was greater. This was a message not only for the people of Jerusalem at that time, but for all believers, showing that God is always able to protect and deliver those who trust in him. One night, while the massive Assyrian army camped outside the walls of Jerusalem, a miraculous event occurred. The Bible tells us that an angel of the Lord came down and struck down 185,000 soldiers in the Assyrian camp. This happened in a single night, without any involvement from Hezekiah's army or the people of Jerusalem. When the surviving Assyrians awoke the next morning, they were met with a scene of devastation. Thousands of their comrades lying dead, struck down by an unseen power. It was a miraculous victory, one that defied all human understanding. The sudden and unexplained destruction of such a large portion of the Assyrian army was a shock not only to the Assyrians but to everyone who heard of it. An army as powerful and vast as Sennacherib's seemed unstoppable, yet it was brought to its knees in a single night by divine intervention. The Assyrians, who had been so confident in their strength, were now left in disarray, unable to understand what had just happened. The fear and confusion that spread through the camp were undeniable proof that something supernatural had occurred. For Sennacherib, this defeat was a devastating blow. He had been poised to take Jerusalem and expand his empire, but now, with a weakened and demoralized army, he had no choice but to retreat. The Bible describes how Sennacherib returned to his capital city, Nineveh, humiliated and without the victory he had expected. He had boasted that no God could save Jerusalem from his might, yet it was clear that the God of Israel had intervened in a powerful and undeniable way. The return of Sennacherib to Nineveh marked the end of his campaign against Jerusalem. Unable to explain the miraculous defeat of his army, Sennacherib had to face the reality that his military power had been no match for God's intervention. His retreat was not just a tactical withdrawal, it was a complete failure of his plans to conquer Judah. The event was a testament to the power of God, who had acted on behalf of his people and proven that no human force could stand against his will. The story doesn't end well for Sennacherib. According to the Bible, not long after his return to Nineveh, he was assassinated by two of his own sons while worshipping in the temple of his god. It was a final reminder that the gods of the Assyrians had no power compared to the God of Israel, who not only defended his people but also executed justice on those who opposed him. This miraculous victory was not just about the survival of Jerusalem. It was a powerful demonstration of God's ability to intervene in human history and protect those who trust in him. The defeat of the Assyrian army without a single arrow being shot by the people of Jerusalem showed that God alone was responsible for their salvation. It was a moment that would be remembered for generations, proving that no enemy is too great for God to overcome. The miraculous intervention of God in protecting Jerusalem from the vast Assyrian army carries deep spiritual meaning. It shows that God is not only capable of delivering his people from impossible situations, but also that he remains faithful to his promises. The defeat of 185,000 soldiers by a single angel is a demonstration of God's unmatched power. No human force, no matter how great, can overcome the will of God when he chooses to defend and protect his people. This event reassured the people of Judah that their trust in God was not in vain. The faith of King Hezekiah plays a central role in this story. Hezekiah was facing overwhelming odds, with a massive army at his gates and little hope from a military standpoint. Yet, instead of surrendering or relying on human strength, Hezekiah placed his complete trust in God. His decision to turn to God in prayer and seek divine help is a powerful example of faith in action. Hezekiah didn't know how God would deliver Jerusalem, but he believed that God could. This unwavering faith in the face of fear serves as an inspiring example for believers today. The story also illustrates the justice of God. The Assyrian army, led by King Sennacherib, was not just any opposing force. It was an empire known for its brutality and arrogance. Sennacherib had mocked God, boasting that no power could save Jerusalem from his conquest. Yet, God's intervention shows that no matter how powerful or prideful a nation or leader may be, they are ultimately subject to God's judgment. This story is a reminder that God is just, and that he acts on behalf of his people, even when the situation seems hopeless. Furthermore, this miracle reinforces the idea that God's power operates far beyond human understanding or logic. The people of Jerusalem had no way of defeating the Assyrians through their own efforts, and yet, through God's intervention, they were saved. This teaches that human strength is limited, but with God, all things are possible. It challenges us to trust in God's timing and methods, even when they don't align with what we expect. The story also highlights the importance of humility before God. While the Assyrians relied on their vast armies and military strength, Hezekiah relied on prayer and God's promises. The contrast between the arrogance of Sennacherib and the humility of Hezekiah is striking. Hezekiah's faith and dependence on God, even when all seemed lost, serves as a powerful reminder that true strength comes from relying on God rather than on our own abilities. The miraculous defeat of the Assyrian army is a profound demonstration of God's power, faithfulness, and justice. It reminds us that no matter how impossible a situation may seem, God is in control. It also shows the importance of faith, as Hezekiah's trust in God led to the deliverance of an entire city. This story is a timeless lesson in trusting God's power and justice, knowing that he is always capable of protecting and delivering those who place their faith in him. The story of the angel defeating 185,000 Assyrian soldiers is a miracle that defies human logic. It challenges our understanding of what is possible and reminds us that God's power operates beyond our comprehension. By human standards, the people of Jerusalem had no chance against such a massive army. Yet, God's intervention completely overturned the expected outcome. This story serves as a powerful reminder that God is not bound by the limits of human strength or reasoning. He can accomplish what seems impossible. For those facing overwhelming challenges or impossible situations in their own lives, this story offers great hope. Just as Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem were surrounded by a seemingly unstoppable enemy, many people today face battles that feel insurmountable, whether it's illness, financial struggles, or personal difficulties. The miracle in this story teaches us that no matter how desperate a situation may appear, God is capable of stepping in and changing the outcome in ways we could never imagine. His power is limitless, and he is always able to work miracles. The story also encourages us to trust in God's protection, even in the darkest moments. Hezekiah's faith in God, despite the overwhelming odds, is a powerful example of the kind of trust we are called to have today. God acted on behalf of his people in a time of crisis, and he continues to do the same for those who rely on him. When we put our trust in God, we can have confidence that he is with us, guiding us, and protecting us, even when we cannot see the way forward. This event shows that faith in God's promises is not misplaced. Even when the world around us seems chaotic or uncertain, we can hold on to the truth that God is faithful. He protected Jerusalem when it seemed like all hope was lost, and He will protect and provide for us as well. The same God who defeated the Assyrian army is the God who watches over us today. This gives us the assurance that, no matter the battle we face, God is in control. Moreover, the story invites us to surrender our struggles to God and allow Him to work in ways that surpass our understanding. Hezekiah's prayer and trust in God opened the way for divine intervention. In the same way, when we place our challenges in God's hands, we allow Him to act in ways that we may not expect but that bring about His will. This encourages us to trust God's plan, even when we don't know the details or the outcome. The miraculous defeat of the Assyrian army teaches us timeless lessons about God's power, faithfulness, and ability to work beyond human logic. It reminds us that in our own lives, we can trust God to act in ways that defy expectations, offering hope and protection when we need it most. Just as He delivered Jerusalem, He is ready to guide and protect all who place their faith in Him today. In this video, we've explored one of the most miraculous events in the Bible, the night when an angel of the Lord defeated 185,000 Assyrian soldiers, saving Jerusalem from destruction. We discussed the historical context, where King Hezekiah's faith in God stood against the overwhelming might of the Assyrian army. We looked at the miraculous intervention by God and how this event demonstrates His power and faithfulness. Most importantly, we've drawn spiritual lessons from this story that remind us of God's ability to protect and deliver His people, no matter how impossible the situation may seem. The key message of this story is that, even in the darkest moments, faith in God can bring about miraculous results. Hezekiah's faith in God led to an unimaginable victory, one that defied human logic. This story shows us that God operates beyond our understanding, and that no challenge is too great for Him to overcome. When we trust in God and turn to Him in prayer, we open the door for Him to work in our lives in ways we might never expect. As we reflect on this story, it invites us to think about the challenges we face today. Just like Hezekiah, we may find ourselves surrounded by problems that seem too big to solve. But this story teaches us that God is more than capable of delivering us from any situation. Our faith, even in times of despair, can lead to incredible outcomes that go beyond what we think is possible. If this story has inspired you or challenged your understanding of faith, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. How does this miracle speak to you and your life? Have there been moments when faith in God has brought about surprising or even miraculous results? I'd love to hear your reflections on this powerful event. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos that explore the incredible stories of the Bible and their deeper spiritual lessons. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and share it with others who might find encouragement from this story. Thank you for watching, and remember, no matter how impossible a situation may seem, God is always capable of working miracles. Trust in Him, have faith, and watch how He moves in ways that defy all logic. See you in the next video.